Sa bawat simbahan ay may panata. Sa bawat panata, may kwento. At sa bawat kwento, may mga pusong tapat na naghahanap, nagdarasal, at patuloy na lumalakad kasama ang Diyos. Last episode, tinalakay natin ang kahulugan ng shrine, devotion at pilgrimage at kung paano ito bumubuo sa ating pananampalataya bilang isang sambayanang Katoliko. Ngayong episode, mas palalalimin natin ang pag-unawa kasama pa rin si Brother Kendrick Ivan Panganiban, ang Lay Secretary at Research Chair ng ACSP or Association of Catholic Shrines and Pilgrimage of the Philippines. Welcome to another episode of Sensei, where theology meets creativity with Brother Kendrick Ivan Panganiban.
In 2024 with Father Eman Quintos. He's a liturgist from the Archdiocese of Tuguegarao. So we wrote the book Holy Mother, Virgin Helper Queen. Si Pope Francis ng 3 new titles noong Immaculate Heart of Mary, Feast of the Immaculate Heart of Mary noong 2020. Yun yung Solace of Migrants, yung Mother of Hope, at saka yung Mother of Mercy. So, a heritage church, nandun din yung involvement ng Commission on Cultural Patrimony or Cultural Heritage of the Church. So, yung commission na ito ng simbahan ang medyo may particular na interest or particular focus dun sa church as a heritage structure. Pero pilgrims, in order for them to receive the indulgence, dapat meron silang tatlong gagawin. Number one is that they pray for the Holy Father. So usually it's either one Lord's Prayer, one Hail Mary, and one Glory Be or yung doxology, or the Apostles' Creed. Half of them. Cardinal Sin himself said that the EDSA People Power Revolution was a religious event. The earliest saint that we have na nagkaroon agad ng shrine sa Pilipinas is actually St. John Paul II. Inayin ito sa Hermosa. So that is the first town that you will enter to in Bataan from Pampanga. Nilagay niya ito doon sa crossroads. Tapos ang kagandahan nito, di ka makakapasok ng Bataan without going to this church.
This is Sensei, Season 7, and welcome to another episode with Brother Kendrick Ivan Panganiban, Lay Secretary and Research Chair of Association of Catholic Shrine and Pilgrimage of the Philippines.
May iba pa po kayong sinulat tungkol sa some specific devotion?
Yes. We wrote a book in 2024 with Father Eman Quintos. He's a liturgist from the Archdiocese of Tuguegarao. So we wrote the book Holy Mother, Virgin Helper Queen. It is a devotional book about Our Lady of Loreto and the Litany of Loreto. Kasi we remember, the Litany of Loreto is the only accepted litany of the Virgin Mary in the Church. So it was approved in the 1500s by Pope Sixtus IV. Tapos since then, only the popes have the authority to add titles of the Virgin Mary dito sa Litany of Loreto. And noon kasing pandemic, nagkaroon ito ng nagkaroon ng peak interest dito sa Litany of Loreto kasi nagdagdag si Pope Francis ng 3 new titles noong Immaculate Heart of Mary, Feast of the Immaculate Heart of Mary noong 2020. Yun yung Solace of Migrants, yung Mother of Hope, at saka yung Mother of Mercy. And nakita nga po natin, it reflects din doon sa current pontificate of Pope Francis wherein he celebrated the extraordinary Jubilee of Mercy, this ordinary Jubilee of Hope, and of course, dahil si Pope Francis ay coming from a migrant family himself, nakita niya yung importance ng pag-alaga sa mga taong migrante, sa mga tao na nangiibang bansa, nangiibang bayan. Kaya nandito yung tatlo na ito. And from there, bumuo kami ng isang exhibit ng different artworks of the Litany of Loreto, especially yung heraldry, yung paggawa ng mga coats of arms. So, from there, nabuo namin itong exhibit na ito, kami ni Father Eman. Tapos, after ng pandemic, sabi namin, ano ba ang magandang gawin dito? Sayang naman kung hindi natin i-share itong mga ginawa natin ng mga artworks. So, tinambalan namin ng catechesis on the different titles of the Virgin Mary. Tapos itong mga artworks na ginawa namin, kaya nabuo itong libro na ito, yung Holy Mother Virgin Helper Queen. So nilaunch siya doon sa Our Lady of Loreto Shrine noong February 2024. And mabibili din ito doon at saka sa Claretian Publications. At ang nakatutuwa dito sa ano na ito, sa libro na ito, nakatulong siya sa promotion ng Loreto Shrine. Kaya isa ito sa mga naging available resources at sa pagtagal ng panahon, nakatutuwa nga na itong Loreto Shrine ay nag-start siya with this pontifical coronation of Our Lady of Loreto. Ngayon, it is now an affiliate church to the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore in Rome. Now, it is a national shrine. Then, of course, ito ngayon ay kinoconsider na sister church ng mismong Loreto Shrine doon po sa Italy. Kaya maganda na itong libro na ito, nagsimula ito as a way for us to introduce Our Lady of Loreto. Then eventually, it led to these different blessings para sa Shrine of Our Lady of Loreto dito sa Manila.
Maraming po salamat doon. Most of the shrines po nakikita namin, medyo may edad na siya. So becomes a part of the heritage structure of the church. Ano po yung position naman ng ACSP in managing the heritage structures of these shrines?
So, ang ACSP kasi ay isang ministry for the pilgrims. So, it means that ang focus ng association is yung pagpunta ng mga tao and how to take care of the people coming inside the shrine. But of course, in order to take care of the people coming sa shrine, kailangan maayos din yung facilities doon sa shrine. So, it means that whether it is an old church or it is a new church, kailangan kumpleto siya dun sa mga facilities for prayer, facilities for charity, facilities for promoting devotion like yung souvenir shop. Actually, in national shrines ngayon, hinahanap na rin yung places of hospitality. Minsan, hinahanapan na ng canteen or like a cafe or restaurant. Tinitingnan kung maganda ba ang restrooms. Tinitingnan din kung meron ba silang place for rest or maganda ba ang security and parking. Then of course, if a shrine is also a heritage church, nandun din yung involvement ng Commission on Cultural Patrimony or Cultural Heritage of the Church. So, yung commission na ito ng simbahan ang medyo may particular na interest or particular focus dun sa church as a heritage structure. Pero of course, nagkakaroon naman ng networking between these commissions. Nagkakaroon ng working relationship yung ating pong Commission on Shrines at saka po yung ating Commission on Cultural Heritage. So, sila yung nag-a-advise regarding on how to take care of the church as a heritage structure. Tapos kami naman yung nag-a-advise on how to properly welcome and orient pilgrims that are coming to these places.
Go to a shrine, ano po yung tatlo uling kailangan gawin ng isang devotee or ng isang deboto para makuha niya yan?
Yes. So, ang plenary indulgence, ito kasi ay blessing na natatanggap ng bawat pilgrims when they come to a shrine. Because, di ba, when you go to a pilgrimage, nagkaroon ka naman ng sacrifice. Kasi you went to this far place to really encounter God in prayer. So, as by the tradition of the church, pilgrims receive this plenary indulgence. What happens dito sa plenary indulgence? So, kapag nakatanggap ang pilgrim ng isang indulgence, alam natin na nawawala sa kanya yung temporary punishment due to sin. Yung panandaliang parusa dahil sa ginawa nating kasalanan. Kapag kasi hindi tayo nagsisisi sa mga bagay na yon, yun yung ang result doon is kapag usually kapag namamatay isang tao na saved na pumupunta muna siya sa purgatory. Pero kapag natanggap niya ang indulgence, para itong tabula rasa or clean slate. So back to zero, so to speak. Kaya yung nakakatanggap ng indulgence kapag namatay, dumidiretso usually ng heaven according to the tradition of the church. Now, doon sa mga pilgrims, in order for them to receive the indulgence, dapat meron silang tatlong gagawin. Number one is that they pray for the Holy Father. So usually it's either one Lord's Prayer, one Hail Mary, and one Glory Be or yung doxology, or the Apostles' Creed. Tapos nandoon yung confession. Ngayon, may times kasi na while on pilgrimage, hindi lahat ng shrines ay tumapat doon sa schedule ng confession ng shrine o kaya naman masyadong mabilis yung route ng pilgrimage. So it's either you go to confession before, during, or after ka mag-pilgrimage. Tapos nandoon din yung pagtanggap ng communion during pilgrimage. So it's either magsimba ka dun sa mismong shrine or pwede ka magsimba at the start of the pilgrimage or at the end of the pilgrimage. So pwedeng the day before or the day after. So ito po yung mga requirements. Ngayon, ang isang hindi madalas din matanong ng mga tao is kailan nakakatanggap ang mga tao ng indulgence. Sa isang shrine, whether you are a diocesan shrine, a national shrine, or an international shrine, you can have the indulgence in 3 moments. Ano-ano yon? Number 1 is the feast of the patron saint of the shrine. Kaya mahalaga na marami nagsisimba during fiesta. Kasi ito yung principal day kung saan makakatanggap ang mga devotees ng indulgence. Number 2 is once a year on a day chosen by the community na they consider it as a special day. So usually, yun yung araw ng kailan na-dedicate or na-declare ang isang simbahan bilang shrine. Kasi since it is the occasion that highlights the shrine, kaya ito yung most of the time na kino-consider na araw na merong indulgence. For Marian shrines naman, minsan, pinipili nila yung araw ng canonical or episcopal coronation kung kailan nagawaran ng corona yung Marian image. Then, ito yung pinaka-importante sa lahat, yung number 3. A pilgrim can receive the plenary indulgence in a shrine as long as they are in a group. That is why, number 1 requirement sa isang pilgrimage is, bawal ka mag-pilgrimage mag-isa. Dapat lagi kang may kasama. Kasi, why? Diba, for example, kapag nag-pilgrimage ka, you are able to do 3 acts: prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. You're able to pray when you go to the shrine, nag-sacrifice ka sa pagpunta sa shrine, and yung companions mo, yung pagtulong mo sa kanila, yung pag-donate mo sa simbahan, these are forms of almsgiving. Kaya mahalaga na meron kang companions. Kasi yung companions mo, yung way mo, para makapag-perform ka ng charity while you are on pilgrimage. So, mahalaga ito, yung 3 requirements for pilgrimage at yung 3 moments of pilgrimage.
Pag sinabi kasing pilgrimage, iniisip medyo malayong biyahe. Pwede bang maging pilgrimage yung nasa local diocese lang?
Yes, as a matter of fact, mayroon tayong mga shrines na magkakadikit, not because of na kailangan ay malayo, kundi para makabuo ka ng isang route. So, merong mga ibang dioceses na gumawa ng ganong system na merong mga shrines sa magkakadikit because of that. Pero at the same time, magandang tignan din natin, ano ba yung meron doon sa mga simbahan na ito? Actually, ang isang magandang malaman natin is that merong unique devotion yung kada isang shrine. So, for example, here in Metro Manila, when you visit one shrine, so for example, it's dedicated to a certain saint, tapos pag-jump mo doon sa second shrine, it's dedicated to Mary, the next shrine. So, merong theme. Merong theme yung pilgrimage na yon. And this is not only happening here in our country, it's actually even happening in other countries. So, we have samples, for example, in Korea, meron silang Seoul International Pilgrimage Route. So, merong groups of churches na magkakadikit na the purpose of that route is merong certain theme na pinapakita yung route of churches na iyon na yun yung nais ituro nung diocese dun sa mga pilgrims na pumupunta rito. Sa Europe naman, we have famous pilgrimage routes like the route, the 7 pilgrimages route ni Saint Philip Neri, yung origin ng Visita Iglesia, 7 Churches of Rome, na pinopromote ngayon ng Roma because of the Jubilee of Hope. Meron din tayong yung Camino ni Santiago Apostol sa Spain. So, ito ay mga samples ng mga routes of different shrines na bumuo sila ng network na merong participation among these magkakadikit or shrines that are adjacent to one another kasi they want to form a certain pattern of teaching doon sa mga pilgrims na dumadalaw sa mga ito.
Ngayon po, may nababalitaan ba kayong upcoming na national shrine na maaring ma-promote from a diocesan to national?
Ngayon pong 2025 sa Jubilee of Hope, nagkaroon po tayo ng 3 bago na national shrine that they were approved by the CBCP last January 2025. So the first is the National Shrine of Mary Queen of Peace, Our Lady of EDSA or EDSA Shrine, which is alam naman natin, it was the meeting place for the 1986 People Power Revolution. The bishops of the Philippines wanted to highlight the importance of this event because marami nagtataka if EDSA was a political event or a religious event. Cardinal Sin himself said that the EDSA People Power Revolution was a religious event. It was a religious event that shaped the society of our country. And, we know for a fact that many people have forgotten that, especially the younger generation. That's why it was important for the church to be reminded, the whole community to be reminded of the importance of that event. That's why EDSA Shrine was considered to become one of our new national shrines. The other 2 are 2 Marian shrines in different locations. The first one is Aranzazu National Shrine in San Mateo, Rizal. So there is a special devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary in the title of Our Lady of Aranzazu. It's an image of Mary bearing the child Jesus and an apple. So, itong apple, parang ini-interpret ito as yung paghawak ni Eva sa forbidden fruit. So, if Eve is the one that caused sin, Mary is the one that helped people free themselves from sin. Kaya siya yung new Eve. So, ito yung devotion sa Our Lady of Aranzazu. Then, we have the National Shrine of Our Lady of Loreto in Sampaloc, Manila na through the years ay marami pumupunta, especially sa 3 uri or cluster ng tao in society. It is the patroness of aviators. So marami pumupunta rito ng mga piloto at people from the aviation industry. She is also now the patron saint of firefighters. So meron pong devotion ng mga taga BFP sa Our Lady of Loreto. So kapag maraming sunog na nangyayari doon sa area na Sampaloc, there have been testimonies of miracles sa Our Lady of Loreto na she is protecting the community of Sampaloc and even from other fire hazard-prone areas across Manila. Then, she is the patroness of students and teachers kasi she is the parish that covers most of the university belt of Manila. So, itong 3 national shrines na ito, talagang naging mahalaga sila kasi they represent the devotion of certain clusters of society. Tapos meron din tayong 2 na recently na announced na minor basilicas. One is the minor basilica of St. Gregory the Great in Mahayhay, Laguna. It is considered as one of the oldest churches in Laguna and even in Luzon. And it is a national cultural treasure. Kaya nakita natin, di ba, it's a center of culture. Tapos, bilang isa sa mga oldest churches, marami ding nangyayari dito mga liturgical activities. That's why it was considered as a basilica. The other one can be found in Parañaque. It's the National Shrine and also minor basilica of Mary Help of Christians, being one of the first churches of the Mary Help of Christians devotion in the Philippines. And ito rin ang isa sa mga largest churches in the Diocese of Parañaque. Kaya nagkaroon sila ng pagkilala para sa simbahan na ito. And kahit modern church siya, kasi Mary Help of Christians is a modern church, pero it has plenty of artworks that were crafted by different local and renowned artists. Kaya isa rin ito sa mga factors na kinonsider why it became a minor basilica even if it is a modern church. So these 2 churches are now part of the collection or of different minor basilicas and national shrines na meron tayo ngayon sa Pilipinas.
Singit ko lang po kasi ang laki ng ingay ngayon sa social media ng mga kabataan saka mga techie sa pagiging santo. Malapit na maging santo si Blessed Carlo Acutis.
Yes.
May kaso ba ng isang santo nagkaroon kagad ng shrine sa mabilis na panahon?
Well, there are. One of them, the earliest saint that we have na nagkaroon agad ng shrine sa Pilipinas is actually Saint John Paul II. Because nung palang siya ay na-beatify noong 2011, Bishop Ruperto Santos, when he was still Bishop of Balanga, declared the site in Morong, Bataan, where he nag-celebrate ng Mass si John Paul II sa mga boat people. So ito yung mga refugees from Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, na ito ay maging diocesan shrine. So nagkaroon ng approval naman na ito ay magkaroon ng shrine dito. And nagkaroon ng mas malaking simbahan, itong shrine na ito. Tinayo ito sa Hermosa. So that is the first town that you will enter to in Bataan from Pampanga. Nilagay niya ito doon sa crossroads. Tapos ang kagandahan nito, di ka makakapasok ng Bataan without going to this church. So lagi siyang dinadalaw ng mga tao. And noong 2019, nung nagkaroon ng national pilgrimage nitong relic of St. John Paul II kasama ng Youth Cross. Itong relic na ito ang hinaus dito sa shrine sa Bataan. Kaya noong 2023, nagkaroon ng petition ang Diocese of Balanga and the diocese declared it as the national shrine of St. John Paul II. And it is only one of a handful of John Paul II shrines here in the Philippines. Here in Asia and the world.
Thank you for joining us in this episode with Brother Ivan Panganiban. In this episode, we were reminded that the pilgrimage is not just a journey of feet, but of the heart. As one saying goes, every step taken in faith brings us closer to the sacred. May our devotion continue to guide us like pilgrims drawn to light, walking toward deeper purpose and grace. Don't forget to like, follow, and share our social media pages for more inspiring content. See you again in the next episode of Sensei.